Ready? So before we get started, I always have to ask this question, even though it seems like everybody knows. But raise your hand if you've heard of Dubai.
Yes.
Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Qatar.
Yes.
Bahrain.
Uh.
No Bahrain? No Bahrain? Kuwait? Yeah.
Yes.
London.
Yes.
China.
Yes.
Now, how many of you all have honestly thought about building your business internationally? Travel or build your business? Build your business?
Both.
So again, my name is Wendy Alexander. I'm a cross-culture consultant as well as an international business strategist. So a lot of times people say, what is all that? That means that I love culture, that I love traveling, that I love anything that has to do with international. Now to be totally honest with you, probably 90% of my business is actually in the Middle East, which is surprising to some of the people because actually women actually doing business in the Middle East is just not heard of, right? A lot of times. Have you ever heard of anybody actually doing business in the Middle East as a woman? No. Nobody?
No.
Okay. So
Wendy, Wiley, Alexander.
That's very inspiring. So I actually am the owner of Inspiring Decisions. So I've actually been doing business overseas, my husband and I, for over 10 years now. Now, I actually have a background in mental health, substance abuse, and nonprofit.
You're welcome.
I love working with children and families, and so a lot of people actually know me from that industry because I was walking in silence. I was building this international empire behind the scenes, but everyone can tell you, especially my family and my friends that are here, that I've always been doing something. I'm always into something, right? And I would never like to do the same thing. I'm an only child. I'm the oldest grandchild. So, of course, we love challenges. And so as the years actually became, I decided that I wanted to do business online. But I'm a mom. I'm a wife. And so as a mom, you're like, well, wait a minute. How are you going to do this and actually travel, right? That's what you ask yourself. Some people say, you know what? I actually can't do this until my kids are in high school, right? And so that's not true because you can build an international business online. And so I'm hoping today that for those of you all that don't know me, that I inspire you to step outside of your zip code into a different country code, right? To actually build a business that is internationally, to embrace other cultures while creating your own opportunities. And it's very important that you hear what I said about creating your own opportunities. Right? So a little bit more about me. I actually have an MBA, working on my PhD, actually in international business. And as I said, my husband and I actually started doing business roughly about 10 years ago. He actually went first, went to Iraq and said he's like, you know, I really want to go to Iraq and do this contract, and I think I'm going to go to Afghanistan. And I was like, well, I'm not going to any of those places. I was like, so how are we going to do this? And then so he was like, well, why don't you just come to Dubai? Now, mind you, this is years ago. No one heard of Dubai. No one really cared about Dubai. And I honestly didn't either, right? And so when he asked me, I was like, I'm not going there either. So then finally, after convincing me, I said I would actually go. And so I ended up going to Dubai. Loved it. I love everything about the Middle East. You'll see me start smiling a lot because I love everything about the Middle East. And the culture, and just to let you know a little bit background, I am a Christian, I am not a Muslim, but I respect the culture 110%. Right, and that's important. And so as when I went to Dubai, my husband said to me, he was like, do you like it? I was like, oh, and I want you to hear exactly what I said. Oh, I am going to do business here in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And he said, no. And that's what he said. He said, no, I'm not. And I was just saying, oh, you doubting me? And he said, no, I'm not doubting you. What I'm trying to tell you is that you're a woman. You're trying to come into a Muslim country. Women can't even drive over here half the time and have businesses, and now you want to do that? And me being the only child, right, said, yes, and I'm going to do it. I am, not I want.
Come on.
Right? I said, I am going to have a business in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Wow. Fast forward, been doing business over there for off and on for about 10 years now. Actually just did 6 months in Dubai. I also do work in Kuwait, done some work in Saudi. And so most recently Dubai, I now call home. So I'm here like until the end of August, and then I go back. And so I've been going back and forth. Now, as I told you, I was a mom. And so when I had my children, I was like, gosh, I love what I do as far as working with mental health and working with kids. And I also want to be here for my children. Like, how am I going to do this, you know? And so that's when I started building my business online. I started actually having virtual contacts and virtual contracts with people. And then from there, as my children got older, fast forward, they're actually in college now. And so I'm able to travel more. So this is the thing, I want y'all to hear this too, because this is another powerful statement. I actually said, after I started doing business in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, I said, okay, so when my son DeAndre goes to school, when he graduates from high school, I'm going to get a longer contract. It's going to take some time. I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to work really hard, but I am going to get a longer contract. The day he graduated, I got the longer contract. Wow. The exact day, it came through, and I kept looking at it, and I was like, what? What is this? Like, what is this, right? And so I actually got that contract. So the last 6 months, like I said, has been overseas in Dubai. I truly love it. I love the culture. But I think that what happens with, especially women, is that we box ourselves in. First thing we say is, oh, I'm going to expand my business to DC, or I'm going to expand my business to South Carolina. And I want you to start thinking globally. So there's 3 things that I always say that women actually need, or people in general, when you're actually talking about building an international business. So number 1, you have to have a global mindset, right? Different from regular business mindset. You have to have a global mindset. So how many of you all, raise your hands, if you have your passports? Y'all know I'm going in, right?
I carry mine.
Valid. A valid
Valid passport.
Not valid. Has to be valid. See? Has to be valid. So that's the first thing. You have to claim it.
Okay.
Right? So you need to go ahead, get your passport, keep it up to date, right? And make sure that you have that, because if that's what you're saying that you want, then you have to claim that. And so I always had the passport. My children have had passports since they were young. I mean, they were little. Because I was like, oh, we going international. Okay, this is what we're going to do. And so my daughter actually wants to be, she actually wanted to be an international nurse. Now she switched it over to physical therapy, but she still wants to build this international business as well. The same thing with my son, of course they do, right? So number 1, you definitely want to have a global mindset. That also means that you have to think globally. And so things start to change for me, meaning that my reading, no offense to Essence, I love Essence, love Ebony, but I started reading those magazines. I started reading things that were dealing with culture. I started reading things that were dealing with Gulf News, right? I started doing those things versus looking at Essence magazines.
Yeah.
I also, on Facebook, this is another area that you can actually do as well, is I joined groups that are actually pertaining to any type of culture. So I might join expat groups. I actually might, which is actually people who are from different countries, right? I actually join, attend museums, right? You go to the embassies. When people actually ask me to go to different events with them, I want to do something based around global. Like the people that I network with have a global mindset. They're actually trying to build their businesses internationally. So I even change the people who I hang around, right? And so what happens is my circle is so small, it's a dot.
Yeah.
I have my family here, but I also have a childhood friend who's here since I was 5 years old.
Wow.
Okay, she stays in the circle. You know, you have to have people that even though you don't speak a whole lot, but you have those tight-knit people who actually also are entrepreneurs as well to help push you, right? Because see, she does the same thing. She's not international yet, but she will be, right? But she actually has a business, so your circle starts to change, and things that you talk about is on a global level. And number 2, the most importantly, and this is where people honestly mess up, is culture. You have to understand how culture and business align. And so if you're not open-minded, if you're judgmental, if you look at Mr. Google tells you not to go to a country because they're blowing up stuff and all kinds of stuff, right? Then you're not ready, okay? And so I always tell people to just stay away from the news, to be honest with you, because think about it. If I'm a woman, and I'm telling you that I've been over there pretty much by myself, off and on, for years, and I feel like it's the safest place in the world.
Wow.
That's deep, right? Safer than my own country. As far as even like ambulance sirens. There's none of that
You
over
better
there.
say it.
There's no news talking about people getting shot and gunfire. There's none of that, right? But all you hear about the Middle East most of the time is ISIS and the bombings and all this stuff. And then while I'm over there, I don't hear any of that, to be honest with you. Only time I find out about that is actually social media. Maybe somebody said it.
Hey,
So I
Brittany.
stopped really honestly
Thank
getting
you.
all into the news and just really, when I need to contact my family, I contact my family, right? I don't need to really know about
Thank you
everything
for
that's going on.
sharing.
The other thing is Google. Now, if you're actually going to start trying to understand what culture is, I'm going to say this kind of twofold because Google is great, right, for some things. I just don't agree with Google and culture. I don't. I think that you actually need to talk to people who are actually from that country, from that culture, instead of making judgments. I think that you should actually, like I said, attend museums. Quick funny story is that my husband was in Saudi Arabia, and I said to him, I was like, okay, I'm coming to see you. And then he was all excited, right? And of course, anywhere I go, and this is what I want you all to do too, anywhere I go, I'm always looking for a business opportunity. It's never a vacation, right? He knows it. He knows, like, we're going somewhere 5 days, 2 days, and when he's looking for business, it is what it is, right? Wherever it is, and he just goes with it at this point. And so one of the things when we went to Saudi, I said, okay, well, I know the culture. I said, well, Saudi Arabia is very different because women still can't drive in Saudi Arabia. And so I wanted to actually look cute, right? Oh, look cute. I had my, because you have to wear an abaya. So when you get off the plane in Saudi Arabia, you have to wear the abaya. And so I said, well, I'm going to wear this pink abaya because I Googled and saw these women in their pink abayas. And I said, oh, look cute too. Get off the plane with my husband. So then before you got the plane, you put it on. So I started looking around. I was like, everybody's in black. They were looking at me, and I was like, they just like, I'm going to look at my husband. So then I get off the plane. All of a sudden, I'll never forget, you're at the top level of the airport, and I'm looking down, and everybody's in black. White and black. I was the only person in pink.
Oh, my goodness.
The only person in pink, okay? But why was that? Because I listened to Google. I listened to Google. And so I learned my lesson, all right? So I don't listen to Mr. Google when it comes to culture. I actually talk to people. And I don't say, and I'm actually not talking to people who say, okay, well, you know what? I grew up in Africa, and but I left there when I was 3. No, they can't help you.
No.
I need you to talk to people who actually just
Live
left
there.
there probably about a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Who still have ties, who understand business. Start networking with those people. Because I'm sure that you have a neighbor, you have a friend, right, that's of a different culture, that you can actually just talk to them. I will talk to anybody, all right? Anybody. I actually was in, I got an opportunity because I have my global mindset in Banana Republic, to believe it or not, in Banana Republic. I was talking to this lady. She was actually a sales associate. I guess she was supposed to be working, but I'll talk to anybody. So she was totally off, not doing what she was supposed to do. But she was actually from Russia, okay? And so she was from Russia, and we started talking, and she was supposed to be helping me with sales. I ended up talking to her a little bit more. I said, well, when was the last time you was in Russia? She said, oh, it's been about a year ago. Now, Russia wasn't on my radar, but that's not the point. The point is, what if it is later, right? So I need to build this relationship with this lady. Yes, I did get her number. She went and took a break. Yes, so we can chit, chat, and talk. And now I have this relationship with someone from Russia. And I just email her every now and then, say, hello, how are you doing, right? So just think about those things. And so that's part of having a global mindset. I also asked about her culture, right? Because she can tell me about her culture, right? So now I'm learning the culture of Russia because I will not step into a country unless I understand that culture. All right? And so that's a lot of times what happens as entrepreneurs is that when we say we're going to go global, we haven't researched the culture. We just want to go in. And you can't take your Western ways and American ways into certain countries. You just can't. There's certain things you can do and not do. Now, a lot of times people say to me, well, you're talking about the Middle East, where women pretty much, I've heard, have to be very submissive to men and things like
You're
that.
welcome.
No, they respect me. They actually respect me more there than they do here, to be totally honest with you. As far as worth and, paying your worth, like look, we wouldn't have been over there that long, okay, all right? But honestly, they really do treat me well. I truly love it. They actually also, they will message me and say, and talk about culture. They actually respect my culture. They'll say, Merry Christmas, Happy Easter. Just like that.
Wow.
How are your kids? Are you going to do, how's the summer going, Miss Wendy? So it's a relationship. It's not just about money. all right? And with that, in exchange, I learned more and more about the culture. Now, people say to me all the time, like, you know everything about the Middle East. What is it that you can learn? I learn something new every single day about that culture. And most recently, when you're talking about learning the culture, sometimes you have to really embrace and embed yourself inside the culture. And so remember I told you I was a Christian when Ramadan came, all right? This is actually my second time being there during Ramadan. And so this time I said, I really want to embrace this culture. I am going to do this. I am going to fast, right? Oh, it ain't about Christian fasting. No, it's not. It is you fast from 3 a.m. until 7 p.m. No water, no food, no drink, no nothing. That's fasting. That's fasting, right? And so they said, Miss Wendy, you don't have to. And I was just like, no, I got this. I think I can do this. Because when you're in the country, they only work 5 hours a day. The government shuts down the country. Wow. And then if you work over, you will actually be fined. In the malls, they actually have signs that say for non-Muslims only. There's actually walls inside like the food court, and you actually have to stay inside. And so you can't even take the food out. Restaurants, everything is closed during the daytime unless you're in certain areas. And then they open at night for iftar, which is actually about 7 o'clock. And then that's when we all eat. We get together. You go. I went to everyone's house, right? Everybody invited me, which is something. Now raise your hand. Y'all be truthful. Be truthful. Now, if you saw me on the street and you didn't know me, and I said, hey, come to my house and eat tonight. What would you say? Each, how many of you all would go with me?
No.
Not. You wouldn't, right? No, guess what? Over there? Sure. Wow. Because of the culture. Sure I'll go. Wow. I'll go eat with you. Absolutely. And that's just the way the culture is, right? And so I did do that. I fasted. Not only did I fast, I read the Quran. I thought it was very important for me to be able to, if I'm going to work in that country, to continue to evaluate, to see where I was as a woman, also within my own religion, right? And also when people ask me questions about the Muslim religion, what can I tell them? I wanted to be there. I didn't want to say, oh, they're doing Ramadan and it's this and that. No, I can speak from experience, right? And not only that, they honestly respected me so much more because I embraced the culture, right? So that's number 2. You definitely want to embrace the culture. So how many of you all, honestly, since hearing me talk, have friends that you know of that's actually from a different culture? How many of you all have honestly thought about asking them about their culture? How many of you all will now? Okay, right? So culture is important. As you see, you can make mistakes. One of my slogans I always say is culture before contact or you risk losing your contract. All right? And that's the truth. And I'm going to just do a little sketch. I'm going to show you something. An example is far from how I say I drunk this.
And table has wheels on.
Okay, and this is not my garden. I'm not an artist. Okay, so let's say like I just drew this stick man, right? It's black and white. And I'm actually doing a training class, and I'm training, and all of a sudden this stick man is actually a man, and he has his muscles and his chest, but it's black and white, right? And I'm teaching a class to you all. Is that offensive to you?
Hey, Dr. Troy.
Is it offensive to you?
No.
Well, actually it is in other cultures. Why? Especially in the Muslim culture, because you're disrespecting the women that are in the room by having this naked man or figure that looks like a naked man. And what has happened was I had it's been years ago now, someone that I knew, very, very, very inspiring lady, who actually ended up losing a contract over a bra. And she has been pretty much banned from the country. It's been about 9 years now from that.
Wow.
So that's why it's important to understand the culture before you actually go into it. Make sense? So don't just jump in and saying, listen, I'm actually going to go in and I'm going to start doing business tomorrow. It's a little bit more than that, y'all. It's a little bit more than that. You want people, like I said, to make sure that if you decide to do international business, the first part says have a global mindset. If your mindset isn't right, it doesn't even make sense. If you're judgmental, if you look at the news and people say, things are happening, it's not going to work. If you're not willing to open your mindset to be able to address other cultures, it's not going to work. It doesn't. And hasn't been easy. I'm very transparent. It has not been easy at all. Not with having a family, trying to be a wife. My husband actually is international. Can you imagine? So we're both international. So when I actually leave at the end of next month, you know when we see each other? at the Dubai airport. We actually will see each other in the airport this time. Now, when he comes back through from coming home, so it's like we actually rotate in and out, which is good for our family. God is good because let me tell you something, like we never planned it. We never planned anything. And all of a sudden, every single time, it's just like this for our kids. We rotate in and out. And so he will actually be here, I will be gone, and then he will come see me in Dubai. So we see each other actually internationally more than we do in the States. And we could pick up our whole family and move, we probably would, to be totally honest with you. That's how much I love anything about the Middle East, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's Qatar, Bahrain, anywhere. And so I have continued with not only building this business for myself, but also for women, other women. I have a client that's here now, Dr. E, who I've actually helped, Selena, yes, that's actually helped them as well to just create a global mindset. And so I teach, I actually do consulting online as well as training. So what does that mean? That means I can actually work from my I really do work from my mobile phone. When people say laptop, but honestly, I have signed contracts with my mobile phone. So I kind of work from my mobile phone.
Yes.
All right. But I actually built this business so that I'm able to travel the world, right? And so when you're actually looking at being an entrepreneur, international entrepreneur, you can actually do it from your laptop or your cell phone. And what I mean by that, as far as my cell phone, is actually I did, and this is, again, having a global mindset, was at a trade show. How many of you all go to trade shows? How many of you go get the goodies? You collect things,
all
right?
of it.
Well, when I go to trade shows, I'm looking for business.
That too.
I am solely looking for business. And so at a trade show in Dubai, I actually met this lady who has a product very similar to Bath and Body Works one day. The next day I said, I'm gonna go back and talk to her. Went back to talk to her. She said that her business actually isn't in the U.S. Did you see what I did? I flipped it. So and therefore, I actually bring business here and there. So I ended up signing a contract in Poland, which leads me to number 3, which is creating your opportunity. Creating your own opportunities. Don't wait for your opportunities to be created for you. I don't think I've ever done that. Now, the more I think about it, I never wait for an opportunity to be created. I don't want to do the same thing that everyone else is doing. I want to do something different all the time, right?
Yes.
Or I'll get bored. Only children, we get bored with things very quickly, okay? And so therefore, we have to always be doing something.
Absolutely.
So I'm always creating. And so with that, the Poland, like I said, didn't know this lady, never met her. She asked a nice platform that she had, and I just started sampling her stuff. And I asked her, General said I asked. You have to ask, right? And believe it or not, I'm an introvert.
Wow.
What? So therefore, I do too. I am. Don't cut it out. Yes, okay. So I actually went up to her. I started talking to her, and I asked her about her business, right? So therefore, if you're at a trade show or wherever you are, you ask them about their business. I asked her were they here.
Thank you for joining.
Actually, in the U.S., she said, no, we've been trying.
Hello.
We're struggling. And now she said, well, so what are you struggling with? She told me her pain points. You have to ask people what their pain points are. That's in anything you do.
Anything.
Because guess what? As soon as you tell me your pain points, I'm going to create an opportunity off of your pain points. Right? I'm going to create the opportunity off of your pain points. She told me she wanted to go to the U.S. Right? I'm in the U.S. I also knew that she was a little intimidated when she spoke to me. Her English wasn't that great. Right? So what does that mean? I can actually speak for you. I can represent your company.
Right.
You can pay me just to do that. Right? I created the opportunity. So then she said to me, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we get some more information? And I was like, okay, I got it right here. Don't worry, I got it right here. Let me show you. So I had everything on my phone. I can sign a contract on my phone using DocuSign. Right? I have documents inside my phone. I can actually scan. I can fax. I can do whatever you need to do.
Right.
Right? Right here. And then what do I say? Well, listen, what I'm going to do is you go ahead and sign right here, and I'm going to send you the scope of work of everything that we're going to do. And she did it. That happened to me also on the plane. Because what? I create my opportunities. I'm probably the worst person to sit beside on the plane. I'm the worst person to sit beside. And because I'm sitting there, you're trying to go to sleep. You know, you have your book, and you're trying to read, and the person you're trying to, and it's a man, and he was trying so hard to ignore me. And I could tell, I think he was from Saudi at the time. He was living in Saudi. And so he actually had on, and he was actually Muslim, so he actually had on his gear and stuff. And so he had 3 phones, and he had a seat in between us. And I was like, is somebody going to be sitting here, or did you pay for that seat too? He's like, I paid for that seat. I knew he did. He said, I paid for that seat too. And I said, oh, okay. So he went back to his phones. And I said, so what do you do? And he looked at me, and I was like, oh, listen, we're going to talk on this. And then so he started laughing. He was like, okay. So then he started telling me about his business and more about what he does. And then I found out he was actually looking for someone to provide cross-cultural training.
Wow.
So had I not opened my mouth and created my opportunity on that plane, I wouldn't have had that contract.
Absolutely.
So number 1, again, you actually need to have a global mindset, right? I need you to get a passport. Because what if somebody calls you and says that they actually want you to do business? Whatever products and services that you actually have right now, how many of you all have products and service books, something, anything? If you do hair,
live for you. Live for change.
Right. So therefore, even if you actually have a business that's actually physically here, you take your business online.
Yes.
You take it online and you start to reach out to the global market. Stop thinking U.S.
That's right.
And so the way you do that is through social media, right? The way you do that is through live stream, Periscope, Facebook, which we're on right now.
Sell it.
That's the way you do that, right? And so you build this presence of everybody, and you actually use the certain things you also have to do. You have to target the different countries that you actually want to do business in. Periscope actually got me a contract in Ghana through Periscope. And at first I was a little nervous because the man's like, I've been watching you for a long time. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, I've been waiting for you. And I was like, that's how he came out. I was like, right, but it came from Periscope. But I have clients from all over the world, y'all, all over the world. So I actually help women, honestly, right now, I call this my American time, all right? And my American time is that I have sections of my life and my business when I do business just for America, all right? So online, when I'm overseas in Dubai, I actually do online business for America. When I'm actually in Dubai, it depends on the day or what I'm doing, okay? I've done things from training. How many of you all train? Done some type of training. Y'all done some type of training, right? Some type of training, right? So I created the opportunity to be a trainer. So I've done training. Right now, most recently, this contract is actually working in the schools. Remember I said I did no health, substance abuse, right? While I was on a contract for doing training, here I am, looking for more opportunities. I ended up going into a school. How many of you all have experience in a school? What type of experience do you have?
Teaching.
Anybody?
Teaching.
Teaching, what else?
Counseling.
Counseling?
Technology.
Okay, technology, okay. So guess what? Y'all named everything that's overseas. You did. I have clients that actually, this is my thing. I always say, look, if you have shoestrings, it can go global. Okay, seriously. All right, that's the mindset you need to have. I have clients that actually teach yoga over there, hip hop. A contract doing hip hop dance. I have some that are hairstylists that make wigs for cancer patients. Right? Wow. You create our opportunities. And so what I like to do is take women. And I actually like to look at everything that they're doing and that you've done. Now look at your titles, right? Look at your skills and what you like to do. Then say, this is how you build this international online business that can also be taken global if you would like it to. Make sense? So teaching is actually one of them. From that, because I don't teach, but because I had experience working in the school system, I decided to start roaming around in the schools over there, right? Saying that I want to come visit because it's nothing like America where it's like, oh, Fort Knox and you can't come in and somebody trying to do something. No, they want you to come in there, right? So I went in and I was like, I just want to come into your classrooms. I just want to see what's going on with kids. I just wanted to see, right? Well, I ended up really giving a lot of feedback about the things that were going on in the school system. They asked me, could I come back? I came back the next week, came back the next week. Oh, did I tell you that they paid me cash too every day?
Yes, sir. Cash.
Yes, every day.
Yep.
All right, paid me cash. Then they said, well, listen, when are you actually, we'll like you to come do some more work. And I said, well, I'm on another contract right now. And they said, well, can you come back next week? I was actually going back home to the States. And so I ended up signing another contract, right? And I was hoping that I would get it. They still wasn't sure. They was like, well, we might be doing it, we may not do it. But they ended up doing it, and that's when I got it, the day my son graduated. But now I'm actually over there helping the school system get their American accreditation. You know what my qualifications were?
Counseling.
Yes.
Substance abuse counseling.
I went to an American school and I'm an American citizen.
Hmm.
That was my qualifications. And then I was a native English
Right, native English speaker.
And I
That's
was a native
right.
English speaker.
Mm-hmm.
I was a native English
Speaker.
If you all, how many of you all have resumes?
CVs.
You know it's coming. Tell who, you know it's coming. You know it's coming. How many of you all have CVs?
CV.
Okay. Yes, the curriculum materials. If you don't have one, I need you all. I always give assignments. Oh, did y'all need one of my assignments? Oh, yeah.
She gonna give y'all assignment.
So listen. So for those of you who don't have your passport, let's say September 1st that you have it. Now for the CV, you need to do a CV because what will happen is they won't ask you for your resume. They will ask you for a CV. So you have to even know the language and things that they're asking for. So even if you have your own business, they're going to ask for a CV. So you need to do a CV, okay? You need to have one, all right? They're online. You can actually do templates. There's a couple of people who actually do. Anybody do resumes in here? Anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Dr. E.
Opportunity.
And so you do resumes? So do you actually
CVs.
market to international clients? Okay, so now I'm gone to the coach.
She done volunteered. She done
You
volunteered.
held your hand up, girl. You can go over this. So look, so this is what I want you to do. Yeah, I'm going to give you.
She done volunteered everybody.
So then what you need to do is take everything that you've done with resumes. I need you to learn how to create a CV, and then you market to international entrepreneurs. People who are actually trying to build business, like everybody in this room, because half people in here don't have a CV, so look, you already got clientele.
All right here.
Right? So now when you start offering that service, you're starting to then have a low mindset. All right? So that's one of the things I encourage you all to do is look at what you actually have right now, sales. Oh, you know I was all in.
Yes.
And I already got her. And you too.
I love hers.
Get your information. Oh, yeah. Because this is the thing. Everybody in here can go international. Everybody. You just got to change your mindset and how you're actually thinking. Now, for those of you all, how many of you are just starting your businesses? You're just starting out? Okay, so this is what I will encourage you to do. How many of you all use the word hustle?
Please
Tell
don't.
the truth. Tell the truth and shame the devil.
Please
Y'all
don't.
ain't never use the word hustle. I hustle hard. Okay.
Please stop using it.
Yeah, right. Y'all use that word hustle, right?
Don't use it.
We're going to take that out of my vocabulary.
Please.
And the reason why is because it's offensive in different countries.
Yes.
People think you're hustling now,
Stealing.
right? So since you're new at branding, you want to look at your brand and always make sure it's culturally sensitive. And so if you are actually currently have a business, look at your brand and say, will it actually be offensive in another country? Can my brand actually
Yes, she
be
did.
spread across different continents? Can it? My message that I'm delivering, right? How I deliver my message. As you all see, I'm so Middle East. What I mean by that, I came in the room, I had my jacket off. My arms were showing. I felt a little weird. Why did I feel weird? Because I didn't release and my arms were showing. I'm so used to respecting the culture. If you actually see me, and I love wearing t-shirts, I love wearing it, but I notice the more when I start changing my global mindset, the more I start really respecting the culture, everything changes. The way I do things, I'm on social media, love to live stream with Periscope. And I told people the other day, I was like, when I have my arms like this, I'm like this, hey y'all. If my arms are out, I'm not show my arms on social media. Because I don't know who's watching, right? Now that's not to say when I'm overseas in Dubai, I still am very respectful and presentable. That doesn't mean that you have to be, you can be free in Dubai. Don't listen to what people say, you can't wear things, and you gotta cover up, and you gotta wear the hijab, and all that's not true. You don't have to. Now, do I? Of course I do. I do it every so often. So let me ask you this question. If you're presented, which is usually what people are presented with, is training opportunities, you're definitely a trainer. 110% can go overseas and need to go overseas because they will hire you in a minute.
Yes.
And that's why I asked you, so what are you doing? Because I can tell by the way you present. And I can also tell that you've been doing a lot of corporate stuff before. And so they will actually want you to do leadership training, sales training. And so a lot of times what happens is, as women, like I said, we put ourselves in a box when everybody in here, how many of you all gone through orientation training, right? You've gone through orientation, customer service, team building. Well, that was my first contract, was team building. I started playing games with them, right? Doing, the cup game and all that, the red cups. We were supposed to, I did the red cups, and they were pulling and doing all this kind of stuff. They had a good time, right? But then I started, they said, Miss Wendy, you got the red cups. I was like, oh no, y'all can't be doing that. You can't be calling me the red cups. But what I did was, I just taught them customer service, training, business development, team building. It's not that hard. I promise you it's not. But the reason why it's hard is because you haven't changed your mindset and no one's came to you and tell you that you can do it.
That's right.
Right? To be honest, nobody shared with you. Because truth be told, I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a mentor. I do now because I truly believe that you should have a coach. Your coach should have a coach. If your coach don't have a coach, you don't have one. Okay? But back then, I honestly didn't. I didn't have one. I was by myself trying to figure this out. But now you don't have to. Right? Now you don't have to.
Right.
Any questions? Any questions? I'll stop. Go ahead.
My question is, for trademark protection, I read the Madrid protocol that you have to make sure that your brand is in that system from the United States Patent Trade Office. They said that you should protect yourself in international companies, internationally. What's your take on that? Because you can't cover that every country. You don't know who's going to enfranchise.
So you can actually get trademarks in different countries. So your business can, so my business, I don't even know if I told you, I got so excited. It's Inspiring Decisions. Of course it is, right?
Right.
But actually, so you can get branded in actually in different countries. And so I'm glad you asked this question because one of the things is that
you have to do that.
You do need to do it. You definitely need to protect yourself if you have a brand, right? If you have a brand, if you're trying, please protect your brand.
Yes,
That's not my garden. I stay in my garden. But I don't step up. But I will say you definitely need to do that. But I also don't want you all to get too technical. Like we have process people, a lot of process people in the room. I am definitely not process. I'm totally executor, 110%. And had I been processed, I probably wouldn't be where I am today, right? I had to learn as I go. I had to do some things, had to make some mistakes. Trademark, I think is important, but do you wait to go global before you trademark? Absolutely, and I disagree. I think that you'll miss a lot of opportunities if you wait for that. Think how long it takes to trademark.
Right.
By the time it comes back, they actually say no, right? So then you'll be waiting. So no, I totally disagree with that. I think you should have it in the process. You should use your brand so you can trademark. But waiting, absolutely not. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, so if I'm already all that, because I did it back in 2000, 2005, I keep up with my past work. In fact, I travel with it.
Yay!
And so I've always wanted to go to international, so I need to talk to you.
You always what? I hear you.
I always wanted to go international.
You will go.
You will go.
I will go international. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, Dr. E.
With my brand, is it better to just go brand international versus just branding in different countries? Can you just brand INTL?
You could.
Yeah.
You could. Now, I get bored. That would bore me.
Well, I could always, license parts of it.
I think you should do multiple. I think, for me, I love the Middle East, so I mean, that's always going to be. That is what I also would tell you all. Listen, don't get wrapped up with the whole Dubai, Abu Dhabi. Everybody loves it, whatever. That's one of the mistakes
Right.
that I made. Did you hear me? I made a mistake, and the reason why is because I got so comfortable, right? And so my virtual contracts that I have in China, Thailand, London were starting to suffer a little bit because they say, "Oh, you coming to see us?" I'm going to Dubai because I felt safe and I felt comfortable, right? So now I'm in this phase of being uncomfortable. And it's okay to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable to move forward. And so just like you were saying, Dr., I think that you should actually do it in multiple countries. Especially, you're already doing it in multiple countries. You just need to go ahead and brand that way. I'm so proud of her. Y'all try to hold it back. So she is one of my clients who actually did international as well.
Yes.
And
To God be the glory. To God be the glory.
yes, I'm sorry.
What function does language play in your business in all of these different places?
As far as translators, or as far
Yes.
as
How do you communicate with so many different? I just want to know what affects the. I don't want to assume everybody speaks English, although I want to assume
they do.
it.
A lot of them do speak English.
Yes.
But I wondered if language plays any part.
I haven't, honestly, well, I do speak a little bit Arabic only because I wanted to. But no, I've always had, they speak English. Actually, it's funny because they actually most of them learn English from watching TV. Isn't that amazing? But no, they actually speak English, and the ones who have a little trouble speaking English, you know, you could tell, and so I always try to encourage them. I don't want to intimidate them, but if you don't have, if they don't speak English, they have translators available
And
for you. But
software.
I've never had to really, I think I've used a translator like from training, but like, most of the time they speak English. They speak English, that's a good question. They speak English, but guess what, if they didn't speak English, what does that mean that you can do?
Translate.
And you do what? You can teach English as a
Second language.
online.
Mm-hmm.
To the person who you do see is struggling. So when you see somebody on social media, they might be struggling. Listen, I also offer these classes. Yes.
Yes.
You can create it. I teach
Yes.
Look, I teach English as a second language.
Mhm.
Create your opportunity.
Create it.
It's called business English. That's fancy.
Fancy.
It's called business English. So yeah, so I have a lot of clients who just say, you know what? I have kids and I'm sure I want to do this, but start teaching English as a second language online. Look at those people who've done it and just duplicate it.
Mm-hmm.
Great question. Anybody else? I'm sorry. Anybody else? Am I over my time? That's why I had my cards. That's why I had my cards. Anybody else? No other questions? None? Raise your hand if you're more global. Raise your hand if you have a different mindset when you leave. Right? And we're going to step outside of our what?
Comfort zone.
Step into a different country code, right?
Yes.
And so I appreciate you all honestly having me here. I'll be heading back overseas soon, but I'm also available. I left my cards up there. So I just sleep differently. I get my 8 hours, just looks a little different. You know, as part of being a local entrepreneur, you know, you sometimes sleep different time zones. But I am available to talk to you also about phone and Skype, whichever one. How many of you all Skype?
Yes.
How many FaceTime? How many of you all have
love it.
WeChat? Anybody have WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Okay, so just FYI, this is the last thing. Most of my contracts come through WhatsApp, not email. Thank y'all.
Come on, baby.
Yes. Yes.
We are not leaving here like the same way we came in here. We're leaving here, not only are we inspired,